Hello, it's Kari. It's Monday, December 12th, 2016. Crab season started on December 2nd, and I have the day off today. I worked 10 straight days and about 90 hours. So when I get paid on Friday, I will be able to pay my rent. I will not be homeless for Christmas. It's a big relief. It's a real big relief. Because that shit is so stressful. I have been homeless way too many times. I don't want to go through that again. I really do like my job. And my boss is really defensive of me. I found out about a week ago that when I first started in shrimp season, she wouldn't tell me how many, but several women complained that they're uncomfortable with me using the women's bathroom. And she has defended me at every turn. And that's really nice because I haven't used a men's bathroom in well over a year. Well over a year. When I. God. Where to start? When I started my transition, I would go up to the town up north and even some of the other towns as a woman, exclusively as a woman. God, I don't know how long. It could be anywhere from 4 months to 8 months up to these towns. And the place where I live, I wouldn't go out as a woman. And that was because of my job. I was very worried about losing my job, so I wouldn't come into town. And my therapist lives in the town up, and I had been going as a woman up there for at least, I want to say a year before. So, I've been going out as a long time, and it was really hard. The place that I lived in, there was this young couple with young children that lived right across the way. So when I came out my door, they could see me. And one or the other of them was pretty much there all the time. I remember that I would peek out my front door to make sure their blinds were closed. Before I walked out the door, I was terrified that they would see me as a woman leaving. And I would dream of the day that I could walk out as myself, proud, here I am. There was one time coming back from my therapist office that the guy there was trying to sell his truck, and he was outside with his truck. Oh, God. And I just drove straight by. Took a little drive and drove back. And he was gone, and so, I got out of my Jeep and I ran inside. And, I even kept a boy shirt to cover up the upper part of my body. And I would hide my face, so they wouldn't see. So they wouldn't see any time. That was stressful. That was really stressful. That was fucking hard. And even though legally my job couldn't say, you can't come as a woman, I told them right from the beginning I was transgender. And then I told them when I was ready. And my boss said, well, let me check with the uppers. Let me make sure the store manager is okay with this. And so when I said I was ready, I had to wait over a week for those motherfuckers to say it was okay. And the whole time I could have just came as me. The whole time. But I didn't. Because I wanted to show respect. When they didn't show me any respect. And then when I went full time, they reduced my hours to the point where they drove me out. I've lost 3 jobs for being transgender. The job I have now doing crab, there's the whole line of processing, yada yada. You don't need to know the details, but there's 2 people at the top of the line that, break the crab because at certain things, the crab is frozen. And there's in these huge totes. And, you empty it out, put it on the line, and you have 10 people you need to keep busy, bagging and whatnot. This is a job only men have been allowed to do. No woman has ever done this. One day one of the guys just didn't show up. And this was like the 4th guy that had just, I can't do this. This is way too grueling. And it's a lot of bending over. And it's physically straining to just break that crab sometimes. And so I was working with this guy. He's 6'9" and black. And, really kind of the typical American. I'm just going to do as little as possible for the pay I'm getting. I'm looking for the loopholes, as he would say. And so I worked with him for a few days, and on that 3rd day, I was like, come on, pick up the pace. Pick up the pace. Because, I was just emptying most of it myself. And, he was standing there, and he would just look around. And you have to look at the line to make sure you're not overwhelming the people down there. And, he would stand there and then he would look behind him for no fucking reason. And he's the kind of guy that wouldn't get out of the way of the forklift. And my boss really loved the fact because a lot of people don't get out of the way of the forklift. A horn honking and something a few tons is something you get out of the way with. So, my boss came over after like the 1st or 2nd day. It's like, wow, you're the only person that has kept aware of it and gotten out of the fucking way. And I had to remind this guy to fucking move. So anyway, when I said this, to pick it up and to quit moving around, he's like, don't tell me what to do. We're all getting paid the same. And it's like, you're not supposed to stop. And whatever he said, and yada, yada, yada. I was like, well, why don't you go tell the boss go ask the boss if it's okay to just stand around. And, it turned into this whole thing, a little bit of raised voices, not yelling. It's a noisy environment. It's just the way it is. And my boss comes over and says, what's the deal? What's going on? And so I start to say something, and he goes, well, he's just got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a chip. And I turned around and I screamed at him, I am not a fucking boy! And I yelled it so everybody could fucking hear. Do not call me a boy. I'm not a fucking boy. So anyway, it was about break time. So we went on break time. We came back and we start working. And I tell him, it's like, because he would rest one hand on the thing and just go real slow. And I was like, come on, man, let's pick this up. And he looks at me and said, don't tell me what to fucking do. Don't fucking talk to me. And I said, if you have a problem talking about something job related, you might as well go fucking leave. And then he starts to say something else, and I just yelled out the boss's name, and the boss comes over, and she's like, what's going on? And he starts to say something, and I just interrupt, and I'm like, you know what? If he has a problem talking about job-related things, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? And he starts to say something, and I was going to say something, and it's like, rather than argue, I just told my boss, get him the fuck out of here. I'll do this shit by myself. I did the job of 2 people for the rest of that shift. What was it? 4 to 6 hours by myself. There aren't many people, many men that have done this by themselves. I am the first woman, I'm the first trans person to do this by themselves. No woman has done it with help. I did it by myself. The next day, upper management noticed this, and they requested I do this by myself that day. I did it 10 hours by myself. And I went so goddamn fast, I kept overwhelming the line. And they kept telling me to slow the fuck down. I have problems going slow. When I'm working, I love to bust my ass. I love to work hard. And so the next day, I got like a little bit over 4 hours into it. And I tell my boss, it's like, I need some help. My back is going to go out if I keep this shit up. And so after that break, they had brought someone in to help. And I have the upper body strength of a woman now. And this position is about being quick. You need some strength, yeah. But you need to be really fucking fast. And I can keep up with the fastest. I'm very fucking good at what I do. When I set my mind to something, I do it. I do it and I'm good at it. No matter what the fuck that is. That's one of my best qualities and talents. When I was in high school, I woke up one morning on a Saturday and I thought, I want to learn how to juggle. And I sat and thought about it. I had the 3 tennis balls in front of me and I just sat there and looked at it. And I realized that juggling is the same pattern as braiding hair. And so I picked up the balls, and within 5 minutes I was juggling. And even doing the variants of the pattern in juggling. Just an example of the kind of person I am. I love to think, and if I can picture it in my head, it'll take me a little bit to make it a physical action. Sometimes longer than others. Anyway, today's a day off. Yesterday, average, for every 2 hours, we can do about 4 totes. On the second day by myself, the third day by myself, when I first got there, I wanted to break that. We broke into a 5th tote before break. I did a third of a 5th tote. That's fucking amazing. We didn't do that with 2 people. I did it on my own. Anyway, yesterday, for one reason or another, it's all dependent on how much crab we do as to how many days we're working. It's real busy. There's a lot of crab to do. Anyway, the boss comes over to me pretty much first thing, and she says, if we get 20 totes done, then not only can we go home early, we'll have the next day off. So I did the first part by myself, and it was a little bit after the first break that I said, I really need some help. Let's get this shit done. Anyway, we finished 20 totes by 1 o'clock. That's, we started late, so that's under 7 hours to do 20 totes. When I do that, I am dripping. When I just normally do this, I'm dripping fucking sweat. And, I was breathing hard, and I was just going at it. Oh, God. My phone's going to run out of space soon, so I got to wrap it up. I love working hard. That brings me a sense of value I need. I get a lot of sense of value in my life. Value is really important. Because if you don't feel like you have value, like I did for 37, 38 years of my life, you don't feel like you can contribute anything or that you can do anything, I look back towards not feeling like I had any value at all, but I would always feel like I was this really good person, and that I was capable of something, and that people would notice me and notice that value too. So there's that crazy aspect that I've talked about. But to suddenly come out and feel and to see that you have value, that all along that you did, and you were an amazing worker, that there were a lot of jobs that the higher ups and the owners of the business were really threatened by me. Because, I would, if there was something to say, I would say it. This is a better way to do something. And then, no, 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 and then I'd go ahead and do it, and they'd be amazed, and then I would be trying to drive, they'd try to drive me out. And I had a lot of attitude problems, so this isn't one-sided. The point that I was making before I noticed my phone was running out of space, it is the next day, in the morning, is that, when I get working hard and I'm like dripping sweat, for people that don't know, to the processing room, we have, rubber boots, the whole lab coat, the whole white plastic rubber apron, the whole hairnet hat cap stuff, and the masks and the gloves, and I wear several different layers of gloves because I'm handling anywhere from fresh cooked crab to the flash frozen crab. And so when it's flash frozen, what I was explaining there is you have to break it apart without damaging the whole crab. It does happen, but you also look for the quality control, like missing legs and a hole in the shell, or a missing claw. Of course, nobody wants to buy a whole crab with a missing claw. So that's another aspect of the fast-paced job, is you got to keep an eye out, and the people on the line do the same thing. And all along the way, it's quality and whatever. So when I say that I'm dripping sweat, there's even these long plastic sleeves that fit over the arms, and so I'm covered head to toe. And so when I get off, the clothes that I'm wearing underneath are just wet. I mean, they're not just moist, they're wet. And, since doing this, I don't really need to go to the bathroom, because a part of the testosterone blocker that I'm taking is I'm on the maximum dose right now. You know what? This is going to be a long one, so I'm really going to wrap it up, and then I'm just going to start another one and talk about this stuff. So people don't have to sit through the really long videos I make. Otherwise, this would probably be like over a half hour. Yeah, good kitty.